After 17 years at Hemsley & Rowe Capital, I walked into the conference room on Friday morning in my pressed suit, my heart pounding. Eliza Crane, the brand new CEO, young, sharp, and cold, sat across from me, flanked by Raymond from HR and Henry, my direct supervisor, who avoided my gaze as if I were something he'd just wiped off his shoe. "Thank you for coming, Natalie," Eliza said, her voice as cold as the January winter wind. "Let's get straight to the point. With the restructuring of the company, your position has become irrelevant." Restructuring. Inappropriate. I clench my fists under the table. 17 years, thousands of hours of anonymous work, sleepless nights patching systems, leading teams through crises, and now, I was the problem. But what they didn't know was, I knew. And I was ready. 3 weeks ago, I stumbled upon the truth. An internal email had been forwarded to my inbox by mistake, part of a board meeting that I was never supposed to see. The subject line was simple: H&R Modernization Plan, Phase 2. But what was inside? A detailed plan to eliminate old, unresponsive senior positions, with my name appearing twice, highlighted in red. Eliza and Henry had outlined a culture refresh, a euphemism for pushing me, the person who built both the client and the internal operations, out like a second-hand item. I sat motionless in front of my screen for hours, my heart pounding like a drum. It wasn't because I felt betrayed. I was used to cold meetings, empty thank yous, and polite nods. But I knew, if I let them control me, I would be out of step with the times. A shadow of the company's history. No. Not this time. Every night after work, I would sit in my small apartment, open my personal computer, and download every update of the software I had built for H&R. The PulseNet system, a customer data platform I had developed from scratch, late at night, on my own personal server and cloud account. They might think they owned it, but I had the most important part, which I had developed entirely outside of work, with my own resources. I reached out to Victor Brandt, CEO of Crescent Partners, an investment firm that was taking the Midwest by storm. We had met at a fintech conference in Denver. Victor had joked, "When you get tired of being underestimated, call me." I called. He answered immediately. 3 meetings later, I had a contract. Not just the Chief Innovation Officer position, but a promise to protect my entire team, the people who were considered liabilities in Eliza's plans. I went to work, nodding to everyone, completing my work as if nothing had happened. They didn't know that I had backed up all my operational data, contacted every back-end software vendor I had ever negotiated with, and that they were all ready to switch to Crescent at any time. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. And the Monday morning after that fateful meeting, no one knew that I would become the tornado they couldn't stop. On Monday morning, I walked into the office with a calm expression on my face. No one knew that today was my last day at H&R, at least in name. Eliza and Henry had scheduled a staff meeting for 9 a.m. A curt invitation, no specific subject line, but I didn't need to guess. I was ready. The room was colder than usual. Eliza sat in the middle, her hands clasped together on the glass table. Henry leaned back in his chair, trying to look professional, but his eyes gleamed with undisguised glee. Next to me was Claire from HR, who hadn't said more than 3 words to me in 5 years of working there. "We're sorry, Natalie," Eliza began. "As you know, H&R is undergoing a restructuring to accommodate the new era. Your role, unfortunately, is no longer appropriate." "Oh, I see. I guess I've been here too long to see it coming." Henry raised an eyebrow. They probably expected me to cry, beg, or get angry. Instead, I opened my bag and placed an envelope on the table. Here's all the documentation related to the PulseNet system, including copyrights, development history, and a provisional patent application under my name. Developed off hours, on my own devices, without a company ownership agreement. I continued, and here, I put another USB drive on the table, is a copy of the internal email chain between you two about the plan to remove Natalie Morgan with the keywords limiting health insurance costs and setting an example for the rest. I've stored it all in the cloud, in case the internal system suddenly crashes. Eliza paled. Henry stood up. Claire gulped. Are you threatening us? Eliza asked. No, I looked her straight in the eye. I'm giving you guys a chance to end this professionally. I'm leaving, today. In return, HNR will not stand in my way or the team if we decide to leave together. No lawsuits, no blame, no dirty backroom deals. Otherwise, I'll let the financial press decide how cool this restructuring of the company is. Silence filled the room. A minute later, Claire stood up and left. Eliza said nothing, just nodded. Henry looked down at the table and whispered, "We'll sort out the paperwork." I stood up and quietly packed my bags. That's enough for your Monday, I said, chuckling. And I walked out of there, not like a fired loser, but like someone who had just laid the groundwork for the biggest turnaround HNR had ever faced. The following Monday, I didn't walk into HNR again. This time, I stood in front of the 28-story glass building of Evermont Ventures, where I had been appointed Chief Strategy Officer. No longer the one left out of the game, I was the one redrawing the board. When I walked into my new office, my team was there. Miguel, the brilliant programmer who had quietly left HNR right behind me. Lena, the head of the data team, who knew PulseNet's every move like the back of her hand. And Ava, the assistant who had never missed a detail in the 5 years I'd worked with her. They had all resigned. Not a word of complaint. Not a phone call from HNR to keep them. Evermont's CEO, Darren Walsh, shook my hand, his eyes shining with confidence. I've watched you handle HNR. It was incredibly clean and precise. We need that kind of thinking. I responded with a sharp smile. They think I'm a liability. I'll prove to them that they've just lost the most valuable asset they've ever had. In less than a week, we re-engineered PulseNet into EchoCore, an upgraded version with a smart interface, real-time risk warning systems, and advanced AI integration. HNR's old customers started reaching out. At first, it was just a few prospecting emails. Then came offers to collaborate, transfer, and even buy EchoCore's copyright. The news quickly became a headline. Evermont Ventures poaching entire core engineering team from HNR, preparing to launch a competing financial platform. On Friday, I got a call from a senior client I had personally worked for at HNR. His tone was straightforward. If you're the one behind EchoCore, we'll go with you. No brainer. I hung up, leaned back in my chair, and smiled. No tricks. No revenge. Just do better, and make them regret it. That day, I stood watching the team enthralled in their first strategy meeting at Evermont, their eyes lit up, their energy brimming. I realized something important. I wasn't just leaving HNR to get even. I was leaving to lead. To build a place where good people weren't crushed by power plays. To remind the financial world that loyalty doesn't mean silence. Experience doesn't mean obsolete. And women aren't just shadowy figures in the wings. 3 weeks after I left, HNR started bleeding. Not figuratively, every line of data, every contract, every relationship they had considered secure was slipping away. First came Valtech Capital, one of my biggest clients who had worked directly with me for 6 years. They abruptly pulled out of the entire investment, citing a lack of clear technical direction after a change in project management. I knew they didn't want to work on a version of PulseNet without me, without my team, without everything that made it work. Next came Horizon Group, which had invested in H&R's data platform. They announced that they were moving to testing EchoCore. Needless to say, they had heard about my new system at Evermont, and they were betting on me, not my replacement. H&R's board of directors began holding emergency meetings every week. The leaked internal emails revealed a deep-seated fear: EchoCore is sucking away our customers and our people. Natalie took the development team and the platform. We have no original copy, no training materials. Are they going to sue her? And then, a name popped up: Amelia Shaw, the woman who had forced me out. Amelia remained head of innovation, but in internal memos, the word innovation was now accompanied by the phrase under review. Amelia herself had largely disappeared from strategy meetings. She had won a power struggle, but had lost the thing that made that power valuable. I didn't need to do anything more. No attacks, no announcements. I just kept doing my job at Evermont. And the collapse on the other side was a natural one. When the foundation is removed, the whole thing sinks. Then one Monday, I got an email. The subject line: I need an appointment. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not out of surprise, I knew it was coming. And for a brief moment, I felt pity. Not for my old self, but for them. Those who thought that removing me was just a small cut. They didn't know that the cut was right on a major artery. I didn't need to go back. I didn't need to hear her explanation, or see her patching up a sinking ship. I already had what I needed: freedom, validation, and a team willing to go to the ends of the earth with me. At Evermont Ventures, EchoCore launched just 2 months after I joined. In the first week, 4 major clients signed on, all of them former H&R partners. But more importantly, I saw my teammates' eyes light up when they felt heard, appreciated, and doing work they believed in. At the first meeting of the quarter, Evermont's CEO asked me to stand up and speak. When the spotlight was on me, for the first time in more than a decade, I was no longer someone's shadow. I was Natalie Moore. No longer the former employee who got fired or the supporting character in someone else's story. I was rewriting my story, with the calm of someone who was once underestimated, and the courage of someone who never let others define my worth.